Greatest of all time or forgotten in history. There's many different ways that a UFC champion's career can go. They can either rack up so many title defenses that they're considered the greatest of all time, such as Demetrius Johnson, Jon Jones, Anderson Silva, or they can lose the belt in their first defense, never regain it, and be forgotten as just another UFC champion. Today, we're gonna look at all of the current UFC champions here in 2024, and I'm going to give you my prediction as to how long each of them holds the belt. I'm going to be laying out how their title run ends. So stick around to hear my thoughts on when each UFC champion will lose their belt. I'm Wyatt. This is Fight Society. Before we get into the video, please make sure to like, subscribe, and become a channel member as well if you'd like some exclusive content for members only. So we'll start off with Jon Jones, the current undisputed heavyweight champion. Now, Jon Jones won the belt against Ciryl Gane in March of 2023 and has yet to fight since. The Stipe Miocic fight for Jon Jones was supposed to happen at UFC 295 in November of 2023, but now it is looking to happen in 2024 at UFC 309 in Madison Square Garden after Jon Jones had to take almost a year off after tearing, I believe it was a ligament in his pec. So Jon Jones has no defenses as the undisputed champ, while Tom Aspinall has one defense as interim champ, which we will get to in a moment. Jon Jones has fairly openly said that he wants to fight Stipe to beat the best heavyweight of all time and then retire, whereas Dana has been fairly hypocritical compared to Jon Jones, where he says Tom Aspinall needs to do more in the sport, and now he's been saying that Aspinall versus Jones will happen, or he thinks it'll happen if Jon Jones beats Stipe. Here's how I think Jon Jones's title run is going to end. I think Jon Jones is going to beat Stipe Miocic in November in Madison Square Garden, and he's going to hang it up. He's going to retire as the company, how they're going to frame it, as the best fighter of all time, because Dana and the company, they want to have their Michael Jordan. They want to have their LeBron James, like clear cut. And George St. Pierre is not on the best terms with the company. He had butted heads with Dana throughout the years. They traded away Demetrius Johnson and he's with a rival company now. So there is no competition for Jon Jones as the best heavyweight of all time in terms of how the UFC pushes him. Jon Jones is going to ride off into the sunset after a win over Stipe Miocic in November. And that brings us to what do we do with the interim champion, Tom Aspinall. He won and defended the UFC interim heavyweight belt. He beat Sergey Pavlovich in a replacement fight when Jon Jones got hurt to win the interim belt. And then he just defended most recently at UFC 304 against Curtis Blades. What I believe is going to happen is that Tom Aspinall is going to be promoted to undisputed champion after Jon retires, like I just predicted at UFC 309. I believe Tom Aspinall will be the backup fighter for that fight, and then he will be promoted to undisputed champion at the end of the Jon Jones and Stipe fight, where Jon is going to retire, in my opinion. I think Tom Aspinall is going to go a long time without losing the belt. I think it might be somebody like Ciryl Gane, if they ever end up fighting, that could beat him. There's a lot of maybes, but I think Tom Aspinall is very talented, powerful, fast, insane how fast he moves for a heavyweight. Tom Aspinall's just turned 31 years old. I could see him being 32 by the next time he fights. His birthday's in April. I could see him being 32 by the next time he fights. And from there, he'll be 32. I think he wins the belt, and then I think he runs with it for like 2 or 3 years, and then somebody that we don't know yet will dethrone him, or Tom retires. But I think Tom is him at heavyweight. I'm dead serious. Not even trying to glaze, but we move on from there to Alex Pereira, current UFC light heavyweight champion. I think Alex Pereira's got 5 or less fights left in his career, maybe 6, 7, because that's like 2 years for Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira just turned 37. 2 more years, he's almost 40. So I say that Alex Pereira is probably retired in the next 2 years. And I think if anyone beats him, it would be Magomed Ankalaev implementing some sort of wrestling heavy approach. But probably what would happen, where this is how I think Alex Pereira's light heavyweight title run comes to an end. I think he has 1 or 2 more title defenses at heavyweight. As soon as Jon Jones retires, they move Alex Pereira up to heavyweight and they do Tom Aspinall versus Alex Pereira. That's what I think's gonna happen. I think they're gonna do Alex Pereira, Tom Aspinall. Maybe Pereira vacates the light heavyweight belt and that's how he loses it. Alex Pereira's next loss is when they make Pereira versus Aspinall, in my opinion. I think Alex Pereira's light heavyweight title run ends by vacating the belt if he becomes heavyweight champ, or by retirement. So as far as the top 3 guys go so far, Aspinall, Jones, and Alex Pereira, I could see all of them taking the belt to retirement. I know Dana White doesn't like, he likes building somebody off of another guy, but it is what it is. That's why he was pissed GSP retired with the belt. We move on from there. Speaking of the belt that GSP retired with, middleweight, we have the middleweight champion, Dricus Du Plessis. Now, Dricus is looking like he could run the division right now. Like, he looks like he could run through this division with like 3 or 4 more defenses. But at the same time, he's also so bad that he could get KO'd in any fight. I'm surprised that Izzy didn't catch him. But I'm actually going to go out on a limb and say that Dricus Du Plessis loses his belt, not in his next defense against Sean Strickland, but his defense after that, because it's either going to be against Whitaker, I don't see him beating Whitaker, or I don't see Whitaker beating him, but it's going to be against Whitaker, Kyle Bohalio, or Khamzat Chimaev if Khamzat beats Rob Whitaker. And I think Kyle Bohalio or Khamzat could beat DDP. So I predict that Dricus Du Plessis will have one more successful defense against Sean Strickland, and then will lose the fight after that. He'll lose what would be his 3rd title defense, either against Khamzat or Kyle Bohalio. We move on from there to the welterweight champion, Belal Muhammad. I think Belal Muhammad is going to lose his very next fight against Shavkat Rakhmonov. I think Shavkat Rakhmonov is too well-versed, too talented, too much of a dog, and too willing to scrap. Like, Leon was not willing to be in a fight. Leon did not want to be in a fight at UFC 304 where Belal became champ. Belal came looking for a fight. Leon came looking for a nap and a timeout and a snack. But Belal is not going to have that in his next fight. He's going to be fighting Shavkat Rakhmonov, who is 18-0, 8 knockouts, 10 submissions. I think Belal Muhammad loses his very next fight, and then the UFC will probably be thrilled about Belal Muhammad losing the belt. That's what I think is going to happen. I think Belal Muhammad ends his reign with 0 defenses. We move on to Islam Makhachev. Islam Makhachev is the lightweight champion. He currently has 3 title defenses. He beat Charles Oliveira, who was the uncrowned champion after the weight miss that he had against Justin Gaethje, but that was for the vacant belt. So he beat Charles Oliveira, and then he defended against Volk, and then Oliveira pulled out of the rematch, so he rematched Volk and KO'd Volk. And then he beat Dustin Poirier with that like short darce that he did at UFC 302 in the 5th round. One of the better main events of this year. It was a fantastic fight. One of the better title fights of the year as well. And just a legend-making moment for Dustin Poirier as well, because I was expecting him to get smoked. I think Islam Makhachev, given that he's talked about retirement so much the same way with Khabib, I think Islam Makhachev has got like 2 more defenses in him and then retires. Unless, hear me out, unless Belal loses the belt, he may fight at welterweight. He may vacate or go for double champ status at welterweight, but I don't think that Islam wants to be around much longer. He's made it very clear that he might retire after 4 defenses and things like that. So I think Islam, there's a chance that he goes same as the first 3 guys I mentioned, takes the belt into retirement. We move on from there. We have Ilia Topuria, the current UFC featherweight champion. 0 defenses currently. KO'd Alex Volkanovski, who had 5 title defenses. He KO'd Alex Volkanovski in the 2nd round with that nasty left hook at UFC 298 in Anaheim in February of this year. Now he's booked to defend that belt against Max Holloway in Abu Dhabi at UFC 308. I think that he's going to win that fight, and I think that the person to dethrone Ilia Topuria is the very next fight after that. I don't think they're going to go with Volk. I don't think they're going to go with Volkanovski as the next title challenger. I think what they're going to do is they're going to throw Sean O'Malley in there for a double champ status fight, because Sean O'Malley fights at the Sphere September 14th. Ilia fights in Abu Dhabi, UFC 308. Late October. They're about 5 weeks off in terms of their timeline. That's perfect. That's what they're setting up to do as the next fight. I know Volk deserves an immediate rematch because he had 5 title defenses, and then he got KO'd by Islam in a different weight class, and then he got KO'd by Ilia to lose his belt. He does deserve a title shot. I don't think it's going to come against Ilia Topuria, though. I think Sean O'Malley is going to KO Merab. That's where I'm at right now. It could change, but right now I think Sean O'Malley is going to KO Merab, and then I think that he's going to move up and he's going to beat Ilia Topuria, and then you're going to get O'Malley versus Volkanovski sometime in 2025. That's my prediction for how Ilia Topuria's title reign ends at featherweight. I think he loses to Sean O'Malley after they each get 1 defense. I think Ilia beats Max Holloway. I think Sean O'Malley beats Merab, and then they fight each other in a double champ fight. We move on from there. I think Sean O'Malley Like I just said, I think he moves up to 145 and wins. So I think he vacates the belt once he beats Ilia Topuria. This is all what ifs and things like that, but I think that Sean O'Malley moves up to 145 to fight Ilia Topuria after he beats Merab and Ilia Topuria beats Max Holloway at UFC 308. He beats Ilia Topuria to become featherweight champ, and I think he vacates that bantamweight belt once he becomes double champ. So that's how I think Sean O'Malley's bantamweight run ends. And then moving on, the final men's champion, Alexandre Pantoja. Alexandre Pantoja has beat a lot of the highly ranked 125 pounders. I think, so his next fight is yet to be announced. It's kind of looking like it's going to be Kai Asakura coming over from Ryzen because they booked Tatsudo Taira against Brandon Royval for like October, I think. So what that tells me is that either they have a different opponent, which is probably Kai Asakura coming over from Ryzen. That would be Pantoja's opponent. And if it's not that, Pantoja's sitting out till next year to fight the winner of Tatsudo Taira and Brandon Royval. Personally, I think the person to beat Alexandre Pantoja is Tatsudo Taira. So I think whether it's after he fights Kai Asakura or it's Pantoja's next fight, I think he loses the belt to Tatsudo Taira. So quickly to recap, I think Jon Jones takes the belt into retirement. Tom Aspinall very well could, but I could see him losing to somebody that we don't know yet. Maybe a Sergey Pavlovich who's already around, or a Cyril Gane, but those are ifs. I still am very confident in Tom Aspinall beating those guys. Alex Pereira, I think he vacates it after a move to heavyweight or he retires. I think Dricus Du Plessis beats Sean Strickland in his next defense and then loses in his next defense to either Kyle Bohalyo or Hamzat Chimaev, depending on who he fights. I think Belal Muhammad loses his belt in his very next fight, which if it's against Shavkat Rakhmonov, which I think it will be, I think he loses that fight. No defenses, Belal Muhammad. Remember the defenses. Islam Makhachev, I think he either moves up to 170 and vacates if he becomes double champ, or retires in the next 2 to 3 fights and retires, vacates the belt upon retirement. I think Ilia Topuria is going to beat Max Holloway and then lose to Sean O'Malley sometime next year. I think that's how he loses his featherweight belt. I think Sean O'Malley moves up to featherweight and beats Ilia Topuria after beating Merab and vacates the bantamweight belt. And then I think Alexandre Pantoja loses when he faces Tatsudo Taira, whether that's his next fight or the fight after, but I think that's who Alexandre Pantoja loses to. All right, guys, so as of late August 2024, that's who the UFC champions are, and that's how I think each champ's title reign in their current division is going to end. Let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you. Hey guys, thank you for watching this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff. It really helps me out a lot. If you're interested in supporting the channel further, then become a channel member today for access to members-only live streams, vlogs, and some other members' perks. So click the link in the description down below or the join button on our channel homepage to become a member today. If you're interested in some non-MMA content from me, go check out my personal channel, Wyatt's World, and go check out my weekly comedy podcast, What's Up Bro, with Wyatt and Bo. Both of those are linked in the description down below. Go watch this suggested video, and we'll see you next time.